Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Come on in. We are finally out here in our beautiful outdoor chapel. The weather is finally cooperating for us, specifically to welcome in Shabbat. What better way? We'll begin our service, page 24, with the words of Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzveichem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Continuing as we light our Shabbat candles. Feels a little bit different when the sunlight is still out here, but just reiterate, no more beautiful place to be as we welcome in Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. You know, it's not really a tradition among Jews to officiate at a wedding on Shabbat, right? Correct? I thought there might be a new takana that I missed. But tonight we're going to kind of reenact a wedding. And, you know, there seems to be a cognitive dissonance there. How could we reenact a wedding when we really don't do that traditionally? And if we look to our Siddur and look to the ancient tradition of the mystics or the Kabbalists back in the 15th and 16th century, we see that there is an incredibly beautiful poem called Lecha Dodi, which may be found on page 20, which reenacts a very incredibly special wedding. And the bride is Shabbat. And who is the partner? Who is the basheret, the intended of the bride? We are, the people of Israel. So the sacred wedding that God has created is to marry the Shabbat with the entire people of Israel. This is our incredible Yerusha, our incredible heritage. And so we welcome Shabbat with the singing of Lecha Dodi. And when we get to the last verse, which is Boi v'Shalom, come in peace, we will stand up as a significant way of formally and officially welcoming the Shabbat bride into our life. Join with us, page 20, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hine Shabbat
lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, shamor b'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'letiferet ve'letihila, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha, ki mekor haberacha, meirosh mikedem nesucha, sof mahase b'machshavat achila, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלום, בואי חלום, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Turning ahead in our prayer books, page 146, we'll continue with Baruch Hu.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Joining together in the Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, B'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem b'rakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
ומעבירי יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין הלילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
Page 148. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world.
In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment, we stand face to face with truth.
In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on the foundation of truth
כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם והלילה ואהבתך אל תסירי ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך וכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך וקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 151. We worship the power that unites the universe, the promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
We claim for ourselves.
Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Tifada Adonai et Yaakov Ugealo Miad Chazak Mimenu Baruch Atah Adonai
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth and prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Baruch Atah Adonai Haporei Sukat Shalom Aleinu ve'ala kol amo Yisrael
We continue on page 154 for Bishamru.
Yishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam v'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam Vayom Hashvihi Shabbat Vayinafash Shabbat Vayinafash V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat lidorotam berit olam V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Beautiful. We now turn to the Amidah and rise.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevii Geula Lebnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo v'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia. Mechalkel Chayim b'chesed, Mechayeh HaKol b'rachamim rabim. Somech noflim b'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishnei afar, Micha mocha bal givuros, Umiram elach, Melech memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'neheman nata lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shemecha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahlelucha sela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
You may be seated. Our thoughts now turn to those in need of healing and in need of strength. Our community is keeping in mind Cindy Baker, Baruch Ben Yaakov Vifredel, Emil Batat, Emily Berkowitz, Robbie Blitz, Miriam Chassi Bat Yaakov HaKohen Visara, Aida Barbara Corvelli, Alfred Marcus, Josephine McWhorter, Melissa Miller, Gerard Roos, Gilbert Roos, Audra Gail Weiss. If there are any names at this time you wish to add. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. We wish them a full and complete healing.
Sheberach Avoteinu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Sheberach Imoteinu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Misheberach Avoteinu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Misheberach Imoteinu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
We move now from praying for the individual for the healing of body and soul to the praying for our world, to pray for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki atah hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol leil v'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Tasim
your story. In this week's Parsha, Dvarim, or Deuteronomy, we have finally arrived at the fifth and final book of the Torah. And Moses, he finally gets his chance to tell his version of all of the events that the Israelites experienced as they crossed the desert. Nearing the end of his life, he knows that this is his chance to tell his side, to tell his story. The Torah says, Ho'il Moshe be'er et haTorah. Moses undertook to expound the Torah. There's a redundancy here. Why are there two words used that mean the same thing? Medieval commentator Rashi says that it is because Moses spoke in all 70 languages, so that all of the people gathered could understand. When Moses spoke his truth, his version of the Israelite story, he wanted to be sure to be understood by all. What's the story you want to tell? Who do you want to tell it to? Is it a different story or a different version than one you've heard or told before? Moses teaches us that it is not too late. We now pray silently.
Son nimreifi vehion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Say shalom b'meromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
One of my absolute favorites from childhood is Free to Be You and Me, a feminist collection of children's music, stories, and videos from the 1970s. Maybe some of you know it. In it, Rosie Greer, a football player from the 1960s, sings the song, "It's All Right to Cry." And the chorus goes like this. It's all right to cry. Crying gets the sad out of you. It's all right to cry. It might make you feel better. And he continues. I was thinking of this song this week because, per usual in the Jewish calendar, there's something going on. We're currently in a period of intense mourning as we are in the lead up to Tisha B'Av, or the 9th of Av, which is this coming Wednesday night and Thursday. And it's a traditional Jewish fast day and day of mourning. We believe that both temples were destroyed on this day due to sinat chinam, or baseless hatred. And the day is an opportunity to feel grief and sadness and cry for both collective and personal reasons. I personally love having a built-in opportunity for a good cry, where we're not just encouraged to cry, but actually it's demanded of us. Although Reform Jews don't believe in rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, I think that we still have much to learn from this day, that we can still mourn as a community and recognize sadness, that we need to listen to people who are trying to bring our attention to impending destruction. And as Rabbi Jonah Pesner, director of the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, says, on Tisha B'Av, we bear witness for people around the world who suffer destruction and exile, knowing that return, recognition, and redemption are possible. While this period of time and this holiday in particular are about destruction and all of the feelings that accompany it, it's also about rebuilding. What comes after everything is destroyed? Can the crying and the mourning and the destruction actually pave the way forward for us? The Shabbat before Tisha B'Av, so where we are right now, is called Shabbat Chazon, or Shabbat of Vision. It's called this because the Haftorah portion, the excerpt we read from prophets on Shabbat, is from Isaiah. The prophet Isaiah continually reminds people over and over again of how to act justly, and is always bringing to the fore those who might be forgotten. The section we read this week includes all sorts of admonishments. It's a long list. Isaiah is calling out to the people to pay attention to their wrongdoings, to look around and be aware, to act better, to see the impending destruction of the temple that is about to happen. He says, "Wash, become pure, remove your evil acts from my eyes, cease doing evil, learn to do good, seek justice, make the oppressed happy, defend the orphan, argue the widow's case. Zion shall be redeemed through justice." I find it ironic that these warnings are referred to as a vision. They mostly sound to me like a list of things not to do without offering specific ways of things to do. When an alternative is not offered, it's easy to dismiss those that say that doom is about to be upon us. When we hear those warnings, though, we also know that we need to pay attention, that we should not look away when we see those that need help, like the orphan and the widow, to use Isaiah's words. I like to imagine Isaiah as an activist, encouraging others to do good, standing in the town square saying, "This is enough. We need to do better, and we must change." If I had to pick a modern day Isaiah, I'm not exactly sure who I would put in that role, though I am regularly inspired by artists, by clergy, by writers and journalists, scientists, and even sometimes politicians who do not look away from the things that are hard, but rather focus in and encourage all of us to do the same. That is the true work of a prophet. They acknowledge feelings of sadness and mourning, and then do something about it and inspire others to join them. At the moment, I continue to be inspired by the everyday Israelis who are organizing yet another rally tomorrow night, the 29th week in a row. They are standing up and saying that we see the radical members of Knesset who are trying to pass a law that we think will bring about doom and destruction in the land, and we will not let it happen. Now, I want to be clear. I am not equating this political moment in Israel with destruction and doom, but I do think it's a wake-up call for all of us who love Israel. This can be a moment where we listen to those Israelis who are speaking out. More than 150,000 Israelis were out protesting in Tel Aviv last week, in addition to having rallies all over the country, showing that they do not agree with the Israeli government's attempt to push forward anti-democratic legislation that would weaken Israel's judiciary, the only real check on the power of Israel's government. And with President Isaac Herzog's address to Congress this week, this issue took center stage here in the U.S. as well. I actually had the honor and privilege, truly, of meeting Israeli President Herzog earlier today. I was invited to a small-ish meeting, about 50 people, though that's definitely smaller than a speech in front of Congress, with other young Jewish leaders from the New York City area. When I introduced myself, I was very proud to say that I am a Reform Rabbinical student at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, and also to tell him that I'm an intern here at TBJ. I was able to say that this is a community full of people that are devoted to each other, to Judaism, and to Israel. And I also added, based on conversations I've had with many of you, that you are also concerned about this proposed legislation. President Herzog shares that concern, I'm somewhat comforted to say. He talked about standing up and disagreeing publicly with this proposed legislation, and he then offered a reminder that instead of closing ourselves off to those that are different, we need to engage. He said that we can't always accommodate political dialogue for any number of reasons, but he also asked, what kind of environment are we going to foster that encourages democratic values so that we can reach a compromise? I love this question, so I'm going to say it again because I think it's that important. What kind of environment are we going to foster that encourages democratic values so that we can reach a compromise? It's giving me a lot to think about. Lawyer Michael Svard, the leading human rights attorney in Israel, and one of the people that I do consider to be a modern-day prophet, claims that he's a short-term pessimist and a long-term optimist. I love that viewpoint, and actually I think I share it. In the short term, things often feel hard. It's all too easy to recognize the many problems we face as a society and to feel paralyzed by them, to wonder what I as a single person can do, to just want to cry. But long term, I think that we are able to organize as a community, to foster that environment that President Herzog talked about, to stand up and to say what our values are, what we will stand for. We can hear the words of Isaiah, Zion shall be redeemed through justice, and act on them. It's all right to cry and be upset, to acknowledge where destruction happens, to grieve and to mourn. But after destruction, that's where rebuilding can happen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
With that, we'll return to our liturgy, page 282, for the words of Aleinu, and I'll invite you to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We now come to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, the words that honor the lives of those in our families and our communities who we have lost. As part of honoring their memory, when you hear the name of a loved one, if you feel so inclined, we invite you to rise to honor their memory. We're in a period of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning, remembering Esther Berg, mother of Barry and Barbara Berg, grandmother of Ariel and Sam Welt, and great-grandmother of Gage and Marlowe. And we are in a period of Shiva, remembering Benjamin Wolfe, husband of Anita Wolfe, father of Jonathan and Terrence and Elizabeth, grandfather of Jessica, Sophia, and Zoe, and brother of Ira and Carrie and Anne. We're in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. We remember Lila Margulies, Jay Teitelbaum, Helene Goldberg, and Lois Grayson. And it's the yard site, the anniversary of the passing of Abraham Paul Berman, Clara Grodell Bernstein, Robert A. Blum, Alexander E. Broad, Harriet Barron Browse, Charles S. Cohen, Abraham Farber, Doris Roma Freund, Louis Freed, Bernice F. Geller, Harold S. Goldman, Louis Gross, Louis Hackman, Hava Harkavy, David L. Heller, Arthur Hemmendinger, Dr. Isidore Herman, Stanley Hockman, Molly L. Nee, Selma W. Kostler, Gussie Meyer Kreidel, Carrie Krieger, Alice Finger Lederer, Belle Schwab Lehman, Michael Lehman, Herbert E. Loeb, Jesse C. London, Morris London, Nancy Stein Marks, Harold Metzger May, Esther Mendel, Jeanette Seidenman Mayer, Pauline Michael, Gertrude Grossman Miller, Joseph Nadell, Herbert Novins, Arthur S. Pickard, Robert Morris Pickard, Gloria Press, Morton Rickle, Susan H. Rosen, Marion Gertrude Rosenberg, May Rosenstruck, Marcia Schachtman, Ben Schaefer, Wilhelmina Schreibman, Mildred E. Sherwin, Mildred E. Schwerin, Francine Schneerson, Edith Unterman Siegler, Herbert M. Stein, Esther Sparty Stone, Dr. Eugene Stolberger, Samuel Turkis, Dr. Alan A. Erding, Catherine Ulbricht Wantock, Samuel Zashin, and Tilly Zimmerman. And we remember the names of those killed by gun violence in this past week in our country, as has become our tradition. Steve Bizzard of Georgia, Ashley Griggs of Chicago, Ronald Jeffers of Georgia, Travis D. Jones Jr., age 17, of South Carolina, Scott Douglas Levitt of Georgia, and Shirley Levitt of Georgia, Andre Longmore, Georgia, James Nicholson, Texas, Alexa Ratana of Texas, and John Ruffin Jr. of Louisiana. And we rise as one sacred community as we recite the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya se shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. Together we'll say, Amen. Please be seated. This is, like I said when we began, so exciting to be outside. The swarm of dragonflies around us are also very excited that we're here. But being outside in this outdoor chapel just indicates what it means to now have summer at TBJ, which is so special and so wonderful to be together during this season. Your orders of worship, it is a little slower than usual, but there's still plenty happening. I specifically want to highlight our summer concert coming up on Thursday, August 3rd with the Andy Statman Trio. Will be right here in the outdoor chapel, and please join us. But for now, we'll continue with Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu, b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'asei v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'i kodesh, zecher yitziat mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashna mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yahava v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
We'll bring our service to a close by making our own buzz as opposed to the dragonflies, singing a nigun. Join with us.
Yalla
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.